Week 1, Day 1. Voracious. Desiring huge amount.
After skiing, I find that I have a voracious appetite.
Indiscriminate. Choosing at random without careful selection.
Modern warfare often results in the indiscriminate killing of combatants and innocent civilians alike.
Eminent. Of outstanding reputation.
The eminent author received the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Steeped. To be completely soaked in something.
My cousin is so steeped in schoolwork that his friends call him a bookworm.
Replete. Completely filled with.
The football game was replete with excitement and great plays.
To eat humble pie. To admit your error and apologize.
After his candidate had lost the election, the boastful campaign manager had to eat humble pie.
Reading wisely. The youngster who reads voraciously, though indiscriminately, does not necessarily gain in wisdom over the teenager, who is more selective in his reading choices. A young man who has read the life story of every eminent athlete of the 20th century. Or a co-ed who has steeped herself in every social protest novel she can get her hands on. May very well be learning all there is to know in a very limited area. But books are replete with so many wonders, that it is often discouraging to see bright young people limit their own experiences.
Week 1, Day 2. Abound. To exist in great numbers.
In the Catskill Mountains, the woods abound with deer.
Technology. Related to science of engineering.
Man may be freed from backbreaking labor by the products of scientific technology.
Prognosticate. To be able to tell what will happen in the future.
The mayor refused to prognosticate as to his margin of victory in the election.
Automaton. Machine that behaves like a person.
The time is approaching when human workers may be replaced by automatons.
Matron. An older married woman.
A clever salesman will always ask a matron if her mother is at home.
A pig in a poke. An item you purchase without having seen, a disappointment.
The mail-order bicycle that my nephew bought turned out to be a pig in a poke, and he is now trying to get his money back.
Solving the servant problem. The worlds of science fiction abound with wonders. Yet modern technology progresses so rapidly that what may be today's wild dream may be next year's kitchen appliance. A British scientist has prognosticated that within 10 years every suburban matron will have her own robot servant. One task this domesticated automaton will not have to contend with will be scouring the oven. Because even today, the newest ranges can be programmed to reduce their own baked-on grime, to easily disposed of ashes.
Week 1, Day 3. Paradox. Seemingly self-contradictory situation.
One of the great paradoxes of American life is that though minority groups have suffered injustices, nowhere in the world have so many varied groups lived together so harmoniously.
Realm. Special field of something or someone, kingdom.
The cruel king would not allow the prince to enter his realm, restricting him to the forest, which abounded with wild animals.
Annals. Historical records.
The annals of sports are replete with the names of great black athletes.
Compound. To increase or add to.
His gloom was now compounded by the failing mark on his geometry test.
Tinge. Small amount of.
A tinge of garlic is all that's necessary in most recipes.
A flash in the pan. A star today, a flop tomorrow.
The rookie hit many home runs in spring training, but once the season began he proved to be a flash in the pan.
It's a man's world. How paradoxical that the world's greatest chefs have all been men. Cooking would clearly seem to be a field that lies exclusively within women's realm. Yet the annals of cookery are replete with masculine names: Brillat Savarin, Ritz, Diet, Larousse. To compound the puzzle, there has rarely been a tinge of rumor or scandal casting doubts on the masculinity of these heroes of cuisine.
Week 1, Day 4. Badger. To pester, nag, annoy persistently.
Night and day my kid brother badgers me for money.
Implore. Beg for assistance.
The sick child's mother implore the doctor to come immediately.
Drudgery. Unpleasant, dull, or hard work.
She does her homework on Fridays to save herself from the drudgery of having to do it during the weekend.
Interminable. Unending.
I listened to the boring lecture for what seemed an interminable 50 minutes.
Perceive. To understand, know, become aware of.
The eminent scientist perceives difficulties in putting the invention into practice.
To pour oil on troubled waters. To make peace, to calm someone down.
When I tried to pour oil on troubled waters, both the angry husband and his wife stopped their quarrel and began to attack me.
How not to get your way. It is difficult to change someone's opinion by badgering him. The child who begs his mother to get off his back, when she implores him for some assistance with the household drudgery, may very well plead interminably for some special privilege, when he wants something for himself. How paradoxical that neither is able to perceive that no one likes being nagged.
Week 2, Day 1. Laconic. Concise, pithy, expressing much in few words.
His speech was usually rambling, but this time I found it brief and laconic.
Throng. Crowd.
A howling throng of teenage girls surrounded the rap artists.
Intrepid. Brave, courageous.
The corporal received the Silver Star for his intrepid deeds in combat.
Accost. To approach and speak to.
If a surly panhandler should accost you, keep on walking.
Reticent. Silent, uncommunicative.
Even under repeated questioning, the witness remained reticent.
The sword of Damocles. Any imminent danger.
Although the president of the company seemed quite secure, he always complained that there was a sword of Damocles hanging over his head.
To the point. Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, was named Silent Cal by reporters because of his laconic speech. One Sunday, after Mr. Coolidge had listened to an interminable sermon, a throng of newsmen gathered around him. An intrepid reporter accosted the chief executive. "Mr. President, we know that the sermon was on the topic of sin. What did the minister say?" "He was against it," the reticent Coolidge replied.
Week 2, Day 2. Furtive. Sly, secret, sneak, stealthy.
In a furtive manner she removed her shoes and tiptoed up to her room.
Felon. A person guilty of a major crime.
Since the boss learned that Bob associated with a known felon, he fired him.
Plethora. Excess, overabundance.
When the teacher asked why the homework had not been done, he was greeted by a plethora of incredible alibis.
Hapless. Unfortunate, unlucky.
The hapless contest winner was unable to locate the lucky ticket.
Irate. Angry, incensed.
My uncle was irate when the drunken driver swerved in front of us.
Pyrrhic victory. An expensive conquest.
In heavy fighting the troops managed to recapture the hill, but it could only be considered a Pyrrhic victory.
If I had the wings of an angel. Casting a furtive glance over his shoulder, the felon slipped out the main prison gate to be swallowed up in the British fog. A plethora of escapes from supposedly secure prisons embarrassed the hapless wardens. To compound their problems, the officials were badgered by irate citizens, who accused the guards of accepting bribes from convicts, whose motto was, "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage."
Week 2, Day 3. Pretext. An excuse.
Her pretext of being tired did not fool us for an instant.
Fabricate. To lie, concoct.
Most fishermen can fabricate a story about the size of the one that got away.
Adroit. Skillful.
My nephew is quite adroit at making model airplanes.
Gesticulate. To use lively gestures.
I often marvel as I watch the traffic officer gesticulate at the onrushing cars.
Vigilant. Watchful.
The shootings at Columbine High School made educators much more vigilant.
A wet blanket. One who spoils the fun.
Everyone wanted the party to go on, but Ronnie, the wet blanket, decided to go home to bed.
Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. Under the pretext of being a surgeon he gained entry to the hospital. When interviewed by the director, he had to fabricate a tale of his medical experience, but he was so adroit at lying that he got away with it. It was not until the phony doctor began to gesticulate wildly with his scalpel that a vigilant nurse was able to detect the fraud. In the annals of medical history there have been a number of such cases.
Week 2, Day 4. Avid. Very eager.
Bill Clinton is an avid student of the social media and is listed on Facebook.
Cajole. Coax, wheedle.
The parakeet refused to be cajoled into entering her cage.
Rudimentary. Basic, elementary.
Since my grasp of algebra is rudimentary, I cannot solve the problem.
Enhance. Intensify, heighten, to make greater.
It will enhance your enjoyment of an opera if you know what the plot is about in advance.
Nuance. Slight variation in meaning, tone, etc.
In reading the satires of Jonathan Swift, one must be vigilant in order to catch each nuance.
To beard the lion in his den. Defy an opponent in his home.
Having decided to beard the lion, I stormed into the manager's office to ask for a raise.
You've got to be a football expert. As an avid football fan, I try to see every game the Jets play. Whenever I can cajole my father into accompanying me, I try to do so. He has only a rudimentary knowledge of the game, and since I am steeped in it, I enjoy explaining its intricate details to him. It certainly does enhance your appreciation of football when you are aware of every nuance of the sport.
Week 3, Day 1. Loathe. To hate.
I loathe spinach, but I love other green vegetables.
Reprimand. To scold severely.
When Ed arrived late, he knew that the grocer would reprimand him.
Lackluster. Dull.
Speaking in a monotone, the politician was booed for his lackluster address.
Caustic. Sarcastic, biting.
In a caustic article, the drama critic slaughtered the hapless actors.
Rest. Take by force.
With the help of his brothers, he was able to wrest the leadership of the company from his partner.
Crocodile tears. Insincere tears, hypocritical sympathy.
When the football player broke his leg, his substitute wept crocodile tears.
The pep talk. If there's one thing I loathe, the coach said, it's a quitter. He had good reason to reprimand us at halftime, because the scoreboard revealed that we were losing, 45-20. Our lackluster performance indicated to him that we had forgotten the rudimentary aspects of basketball. His caustic remarks fired us up, however, and we dashed out, determined to wrest control of the game from our rivals.
Week 3, Day 2. Infamous. Having a bad reputation, evil.
The bombing of Pearl Harbor was referred to as an infamous deed.
Jostle. To push, to elbow, to shove hard.
When he attempted to jostle the old lady, she struck him with her umbrella.
Dupe. A person easily tricked.
The wealthy dupe consented to buy the often sold Brooklyn Bridge.
Incipient. Just beginning to exist.
By telling the truth, we stopped the incipient rumor from spreading.
Inadvertent. Heedless, not attentive, due to an oversight, negligent.
Through an inadvertent error, the guided missile sped out of control.
To carry the day. To win the approval of the majority, to win the honors.
The secretary's motion that we adjourn for lunch carried the day, and we headed for the restaurant.
The handcuff is quicker than the eye. Slippery Eddie, the infamous pickpocket, was back at work, and every detective had to be especially vigilant. Eddie's technique was to jostle a victim toward a Confederate, who would then slip the man's wallet out of his back pocket, while Eddie was stammering an apology to the confused dupe. Within a week the incipient crime wave came to an end when Slippery Eddie inadvertently chose the chief of police for his victim. Although Eddie loathes Sing Sing, it's his permanent address now.
Week 3, Day 3. Ominous. Threatening, menacing.
After the weatherman had seen the ominous clouds, he prognosticated rain.
Tremulous. Quivering, trembling.
The widow's tremulous hands revealed her nervousness.
Repudiate. To reject, decline, disown, refuse to accept.
The general attempted to repudiate the testimony of the lieutenant, claiming that the young officer was not an authority on low-level bombing.
Cessation. A stopping.
The cessation of the bombing in Iraq was urged by the United Nations.
Bristle. Stiffen with fear or anger.
Upon seeing the snake, the cat began to bristle with fear.
Skid Row. Disreputable part of town, inhabited by derelicts and people on the skid.
The presence of so many bars has turned our neighborhood into another Skid Row.
Courtroom drama. There was an ominous silence when the jittery defendant rose in court. He explained in a tremulous voice what had led him to repudiate his confession made at the police station on the night of the crime. The audience began to buzz excitedly until the judge demanded a cessation of the noise. Although the district attorney bristled with anger, the defendant kept insisting that his rights had been violated because he had not been told that he could see a lawyer before confessing.
Week 3, Day 4. Euphemism. A less offensive term.
The word expired is a euphemism for died.
Mundane. Worldly, earthly.
The philosopher dealt with spiritual things, ignoring the mundane ones.
Incongruous. Inappropriate.
The play was so incongruous that it seemed to be the work of several authors.
Condolence. Pity, expression of sympathy.
When my neighbor's dog was run over, we sent a condolence card.
Stipulate. Make a specific demand, to specify a condition.
We repudiated the contract because it did not stipulate a cost of living bonus.
To go up in smoke. End fruitlessly.
The mayor's plans to get the gubernatorial nomination went up in smoke when he couldn't end the costly strike.
Call me by my right name. My cousin refers to himself as a sanitary engineer, a euphemism for garbage collector. There are any number of people who try to find more respectable or glamorous titles for the mundane jobs they hold. It may seem incongruous to call an undertaker a condolence counselor, or to refer to a taxi driver as a transportation expediter, but some prefer those titles. As a matter of fact, our butcher has stipulated that from now on he wants to be known as a meat coordinator. He became irate when I inadvertently called him Butch.